Hey, 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 hey! Welcome to the live stream of consciousness. For those of you who have been with us for a while, you may notice somebody's missing. Jesse is not here tonight with us because he's doing a Comic-Con in Boston, so he's traveling today. But he did send in a video to say hello, so I just want to share that. Let me just make sure I'm sharing the right one here. Here it is. And I'm going to bring in Jesse virtually for a moment.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness. I can't be there today because me and my cute little lady Julie, we're on our way to the Northeast Comic Con in Boxborough, Massachusetts. I'm super excited. I've got my first very limited printing of King of Kings #1 to sell at the show. It's an exclusive for the show. We only printed 50 copies, and I got 50 copies of a new printing exclusive for the show of Blacklight District One Shot, and I'm really excited to sign them and meet people in Mass. So if you're around that area and you want to come see me and Julie, come say hello. I'll be there all weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Just traveling today, so I couldn't do the show, but I'm sure Michael will have it well in hand without me. Love you, Michael. Love you all. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Peace.
Yes. So there you go. Jesse says hello. He sends his love. So the live stream of consciousness, for those of you who may have not seen it before, is a show that started as an online class Jesse was doing out of a local wellness center about the 13 universal laws. He kind of took some different philosophies and kind of made his own version and did a class there. And I was broadcasting it live for him. And through that process, we just kind of loved having these conversations. I wasn't actually on screen. He said, I want you to come on screen. And I became the co-host. And, I was always behind the scenes, and this became something really kind of cool. I really love this platform. I love the conversations that we have. And those of you who know, I'm kind of doing my own show now called The Moment, but the live stream of consciousness is where it all began. And here we are. And things have been going great. For those who know, as I've been talking about my journey at Tied In, from just kind of working there part-time and freelance to being there full-time, we had an event last week, which was in celebration of Women's Month, which was last month. And it was a women empowerment night, and it went so well. It was really so cool. And Angela said she loved the class. Thanks, Angela. Leela was in the class too. Ninja Kitty, cool. But this event was just amazing, and I had never really even realized it. But all of my coworkers, or most of them, are women, and my two bosses are women, and it was really cool to kind of take a step back and be like, yeah, because I never looked at men and women and things that way, but I guess that's the way the world is. So it was really cool to see the celebration, and I met some amazing people, and that's where I met tonight's guest. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about Asia Lee, who is not only an extraordinary woman, but she is an extraordinary artist. I'm going to share some of her work before I bring her on, so you get to know a little bit about her. Where's my slideshow? There it is. So this is some work from her website, which I'm going to put also up on the screen here. Give me a moment. I actually should have had this one prepared, but I don't. But you know what? Let me make her work full screen there so you can see it. And I was talking to her earlier, and I told her, I said, I'm not usually a fan of sunsets and landscape work, but your work is amazing. Your work, it really, really speaks to me. Okay, here's her website. I'm going to put this up on the screen as well. Excuse me while I produce the show by myself, and I don't have Jesse to keep you guys occupied as I do things behind the scenes here. Creating a banner with her web address on it. And there we go. So Asia Lee's work. This is some of her photography, and I don't know if you guys feel what I feel when looking at this work, but just looking at this, it's just like there's so much energy in it. It really, it's like speaking. So I started looking at her work, and all of it had that same energetic vibration. It was just like, I don't know. Every image brought me to that place as if I was reading a book or if I was dreaming. It was just it's just really magical. Her work is extremely beautiful. Steve Sage says the colors are great. Absolutely, that is freaking beautiful. So beautiful. Um, yeah, this it's just undeniable. Looking at this work, this one is that's so magical. I mean, how can you look at that and not feel the magic of that image? Just amazing, amazing stuff. So I'm getting really excited to have this conversation. I hope you guys are getting pumped up seeing these images. Look at this image. If you live on Long Island, you know that scene, that bridge, and man, it's just so beautiful. It's like another world. And this one also, it's just a dream. So here she is. Without further ado, Asia Lee. Welcome to the show, Asia.
Hello. Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure, and
Uh,
it was really wonderful catching up with you tied in.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I had actually seen you around before. It's a small island, and I was like, I have to introduce myself to this woman, and I was so surprised at just how we clicked, you know what I mean, and how we were able to have such amazing conversations about just life, crypto, and NFT, which is why I was like, I don't know anything, and someone said you know some stuff, um, but then even after that, just you told me a bunch of your life story, which I was just in awe. I hope I didn't have my jaw like that the whole time, which I want you to tell here. Um, but there is a tradition here at the live stream of consciousness, and that is our first question. No, no, it has nothing to do with that. It's our first question, and our first question is, what does consciousness mean to you? Give us your definition of consciousness.
So I think first we have to know what our conscious brain is like. For me, there's first I want to say hello everyone who has joined. I am so honored and privileged and incredibly humbled by some of your comments, and I was starting to
Oh,
tear up. I was getting so emotional, so thank you.
uh, uh,
um, for me, there's that consciousness that what we're aware of thinking, then there's a subconscious, then the superconscious, and
okay.
that consciousness is the trifecta, is a combination of all of it. So that consciousness is, the way I explained is, our consciousness has very little power. Like you say, you're going to do something or you want something, no, really nothing. Is we do like 90% on the subconscious level. Like we do, like you may not even notice. You put on the same sneaker the same way. You get up out of the bed the same way. You pick up the toothpaste. Like we're not even aware of
Mhm.
the subconscious habits that we're doing. Then so that has more power because whatever your BS is, anybody know what BS is? Belief system. So everything is a belief system. My
Mhm.
personal belief is there's only truth is love and everything else is BS. So if it doesn't empower you, just get rid of it and replace it. And that's so much easier to said than done. But
Mhm. Mhm.
just the awareness of it helps you to direct where you want.
Absolutely. 1,000,000%.
Super conscious, that is the magical place because that's where you want to go, where it is absolutely bending reality. It is the vibrational field, is the quantum, it's unlimited. And some of you may have gotten there through deep meditation or plant
Mhm.
medicine or whatever. If you've tapped into that, oh my God, it's bliss. It's
Mhm.
total bliss. So to
Mhm.
me, that is what really consciousness is this whole connectedness, not just with humanity, but with everything. And not just with Earth, it's beyond the known. It goes on and on and on.
Mhm. Absolutely. Oh, what a wonderful answer that was. I love it. I love it. And you know what? And that comes through. I think that's what's coming through in your photography is your connection to what it is that you're showing. It's almost like, I mean, my I photography is such a wide field, right? I mean, I take pictures of people, you take pictures of the land and the sun and the elements. And for me, I try to get a reflection of myself or what I see in that person, and it's the same kind of thing. It's like a reflection, in the ocean or in the sun or in the flower. That purple one is, oh my god, that's such a beautiful image. I think I might have to buy a print of that.
It's a close up of a petunia. That's a petunia.
It's so
So
amazing.
yes. So all of life is really a reflection of us. And sometimes we need metaphors and stories because we can't see what we don't know. And
Mhm.
we may think we know, but we could only interpret it from our limited experience and what we do know. So what we do know, we try to fit it into what we do know.
Mhm. Mhm.
But for photography, I I just get lost in the energy of it. Like
Mhm.
sometimes like it's just so amazing. As you said, photography is wide range. You can do models, you can do products or whatever.
Mhm. Mhm.
I
Mhm.
just love, love, love being out in nature
Mhm.
alone. Like it's just, yeah, anybody, I don't know if anybody else feels this way about nature or trees or the environment. It's such
Oh,
magic.
it's magic. Yeah. No, with that, and see, that's interesting too, because I do feel that when I'm out in nature. I definitely connect to the nature, especially when you're at the ocean or you're in a mountainscape or some vista that is you're in awe of, right?
Yeah,
Um, I definitely feel that connection, but photographically, that never really spoke to me.
it's
But
very,
yeah,
yeah,
seeing your work though, I was like, wow, this is speaking to me. It
thank
was
you.
great. It was
Because
great. Steve said he
personally,
loves
I
shooting
don't
the moon.
feel I capture what I'm feeling and seeing. Like
Oh, really?
there and you're like in awe. Well, I'm there, you're there, and I don't know if anybody else, you're like in awe and you take the picture and you look at the picture and you just don't get that same awe.
Right, right, right.
That's
Well, okay. I definitely understand what you're saying, but I will say that I did get it from your work for sure, and I think some of the viewers did as well. Somebody actually, that reminds me. Somebody, I forget who it was. I want to remember now. Somebody said something about the secret to being happy and staying young. Oh, it was a comedian, and he was on a friend's show, but he said the secret to staying young and is, be in awe every day, be in awe of something
yeah,
every day, whether it's like a tree, or the sunset, like you said. Just find
sunrise.
find something awesome every day, like, and be like, oh my good, and learn something new every day, so that keeps you as a child, you
Mhm.
know and it was so cool.
Yeah, so one of the things to be happy is about progress. So,
Mhm.
and another thing is so many people are afraid of failure or getting that. They did a study. They did a class of photography class. So one
Okay.
was given a grade.
Hmm.
You turn in 100 photos and you get an A. You turn in 90, you get like B, whatever, 80, so forth. And then the other group had to only turn in one photo, but it had to be their best. And the ones that handed in 100 turned out to be so much better because they failed so many times
Hmm.
and they
Hmm.
had this room to experiment. And I
Hmm.
think a lot
Hmm.
of us don't push ourselves to
Hmm.
fail forwards. I know I
Mhm,
have that
mhm, mhm,
problem. Like I'll share with you when I had to do my NFT drop. Oh my gosh, I was having a panic attack. I was
mhm,
thinking, what if nobody buys it? What if nobody likes it? What if,
mhm,
what if, what if, what if? And
mhm.
all those what ifs, I just wanted to crawl and not even do it because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that fear. And then I'm like, okay, this is a learning experience. How am I
Mhm,
going to be able to grow from this? And
mhm.
launched
Awesome. And how did it do?
it. it did okay. I learned a lot. I mean, I did make sales, but what I learned is that with NFT, crypto, everything is right now is so new. It's all about the story, the community, the hype.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Why crypto goes up and down like this, because when it gets hype, people buy into it and they get FOMO, and those people that get into it here, then
Hmm.
it drops like this and they feel like they lost money.
So
So
they get out. Yeah.
yeah, don't get in when it's here.
Yeah.
Don't get
Yeah.
in when the hype is already there. By the time you find
Right.
out about the hype, it's too late.
Right. 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 Right.
In the community and know the wave that's coming, get in, and once it reaches, take your profits and
Mhm.
do something else. Put it in.
I think the other thing that in that story was important for me that you learned was getting past the what if. You know
Yes,
what I mean? Like that was a big thing, right? I mean, getting past that what if, and now you did it. Now it's like, okay, well, I've already done that. I've had an NFT drop. I know what it's about, and not only do I know what it's about, but I know it's about learning what it's about and growing and just like growing with it. It's certainly, I mean, I've been a computer geek my whole life, and it's even intimidating and confusing for me, but you can't deny that the way technology works and the way things work, it's like when the TV was introduced, people are like, oh, it won't never catch on or whatever, and it basically becomes a way of life, right?
yes, yes,
Yeah. So
absolutely.
yeah. Yeah, awesome. So before I really kind of set you off, or this may set you off as far as getting into it, because when we met and you started telling me your story of who you are and where you came from and all of that, I was just in awe. But related to the show, kind of the next question that we usually like to ask is, um, what's the story of when you woke up, when you became aware that everything that you may have learned wasn't exactly what might be actually real?
Um, I'm not sure if there was one particular moment that I woke up.
Mhm.
I just feel like the universe kept trying to help me, and I kept refusing.
Mhm.
I was in this like so much pain that I couldn't see the gifts.
Mhm.
So, um, I'll share with the audience. My childhood was incredibly stressful. So I was stolen at 5, and everything's made up about me. So I have no legal documentation and tremendous aching for my family and everything I love. And then I got adopted. So I got from a little island, Jeju, brought to Seoul. Everything made up that I'm from Seoul, so I can be adopted into the States because there was a huge demand for children back then. They changed the laws now, and children can't be adopted like this anymore. Um, and then the family that adopted me did not want a child. They were looking for more like help. They had 6 biological children, and they were in a cult, and the cult leader kind of forced them that to adopt. So it wasn't like it was.
Easy way to indoctrinate more people
Yeah.
into the cult.
So a long story short, it was very, very, very stressful because the loss, my language, my family, my country, plus the cult was very strict, and um,
Wow.
you know, everything, every stressful thing you could imagine, I probably experienced between hunger, loss, physical, emotional, sexual abuse. So when children have that, they tend to grow up with a helpless brain, helplessness,
Mhm.
because you've been helpless and in so much stress, you think like this is life, and it's so painful.
Mhm.
Um, And then when I was 16, I just couldn't handle the pain anymore. And I took an entire bottle of pills, and I went through that tunnel near death. And I got sent back, and I was told I had a purpose. And I came back. It's not like, oh, I know my purpose. Because
Right.
for the next decade, literally for almost 10 years, I was planning. And any little trigger, my home base was depression. I
Mhm.
was constantly thinking how I can leave this world. I just felt this world was just so painful,
Mhm.
and how I failed, and how I was planning that next time I'm going to be successful. Like, there's
Mhm.
no way I'm going to stay here.
Right.
And then,
So wait, let me stop you for a minute. Sorry to interrupt, but
oh,
when you were telling me the story, and I don't know if it was in between the time when you were adopted and in the cult to 16, but you were talking about stories about almost like a boot camp experience and things that
yeah,
the
the cult, the
the
trick.
things that the cult put you through. Yeah, well, I mean that's a big part of the story. I mean, I think it is.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
So, guess what? I know how to survive in the woods. I know how to use compound bows, rifles, how they kick back, backpacking in 20 below zero with nothing and just my backpack and what I could eat off the land, and swamping canoes, and all of that was some of the survival trainings that I had in this cult.
So in between 5 and 16, you were experiencing all
This
of
was
this.
13. This was when I
Wow.
was a teenager. Yeah,
Wow.
I was young. I was
Incredible story. Positive vibes to you. Absolutely.
so
Mhm.
so so after like this decade of planning and plotting that this time I was going to be successful, I had perfectly planned. And you know what happened? I got paralyzed on my bed. I couldn't move. I was totally awake and conscious, but I was literally paralyzed. And I was shown the different levels of death. Some might say dimensions. So the first level is you're out of your body, but in quantum physics, you're still entangled. So your energy's entangled.
Mhm.
And these are the people that die, flatline, you know, but you can see everything. It's kind
Mhm.
of like
Mhm.
astral projecting, and you can come back. The second level is you're energetically untangled. These are the people that died. You can't get back into your body because you're not attached energetically. These are the people we buried. And then there's the next level. So when I was in this second level, I was going around saying goodbye. And it was so frustrating because it was like they couldn't hear me.
Mhm.
I was trying to get their attention so badly, and it was so
People
frustrating.
in the
No, no,
3D realm.
I, okay. I had two young children then, and they were at a birthday party, and so I astral projected to say goodbye to them. This is how
Mhm.
what I was planning,
Mhm.
and I thought they were young and they would be able to sense me and to know and stuff that I'm saying, like trying to get their attention, and they could
Mhm.
not get nothing.
Mhm.
So then I came back in my body, and I was like, oh my God, I can make different choices. It's like all of a sudden, like the light bulb went off. Like, I don't have to keep believing my story. I'm here now. I can make different choices. I can think differently. And
Mhm.
like, I am like superhuman. I have these hands. Like, when we have this body, we
Mhm.
have superpowers. We can lift a cup. I have a mouth. I have arms.
Mhm.
We can create. And it was just awareness that instead of just looking at this one thing one way, that I had a choice. I have
Mhm.
that, and that's the learned helplessness. The learned helplessness, you feel like you have no choices, but
Mhm.
you're
Mhm.
not
Mhm. Mhm.
aware of it. I
Right.
was not aware of it. And that's the awareness that
Mhm.
now
Mhm.
I'm unlimited. I can
Right.
do anything. And if I think I can't, I start listing like, what are the possibilities? What
Right.
can I do? Because
Right.
sometimes my mind does shift.
Right.
I'm constantly training my mind. And I start that every morning with a sunrise meditation.
Mhm.
Um, and my neural pathways have literally changed because as I was writing my memoir, I started having memories. Another thing with trauma children is that we have amnesia. There's a
Mhm.
whole blankness that we don't remember because it's too painful.
Mhm.
And I started having this memory, and it was so painful. All I had to do was start thinking about it, and I would start tearing up, and I would also disassociate, like almost split from my
Right.
consciousness because it was just so painful.
Right.
But
Sure.
what was so cool was that I literally felt and can think how I wanted to go to depression and sadness, and I
Mhm.
was justifying it. I was saying, you have every right to and stuff. But my neural pathways from meditating and all this joy,
Mhm.
I literally tear up every morning. I'm
Yeah.
tears of bliss every morning,
Gratitude.
of
Yeah.
gratitude, of I don't even have to, like, it's just going into that higher dimensions when I'm meditating. I just, the tears are there. I'm not even aware of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Brain neural pathways have changed so much. It didn't know the pathway to depression. And it was so amazing. I was like,
So
oh,
wonderful.
I know sadness, but I don't have that depression anymore.
Right, right, right. Oh, that's such a that's such a wonderful way to describe that kind of higher consciousness is. I know it. I know what it is. I've experienced it, but I don't have to let it affect me that way because I'm making a choice basically of how it's going to affect me. That I was going to say like, oh, we've got a comment from Tammy who says, "You're an angel who touches people's lives for a reason." I believe that's true. I believe that's why you're here. But like, I think it's again the same thing. People who feel like, well, life is circumstantial. It's put these circumstances on me, right? Well, how are you reacting to that circumstance is what put you where you are, not that circumstance, right? I mean, you
Well,
can
you know what?
change the way you're acting.
I feel everybody has pain. We all have pain. It's just acknowledge, there's no good or bad. It's
Mhm,
just acknowledging it. And then, I've heard this saying, you are not your thoughts.
mhm,
And I tend to disagree because
mhm,
our thoughts create our emotions. Our
mhm, mhm,
emotions create actions. So
mhm.
it's being aware of those thoughts. Are those thoughts empowering or disempowering? And if
Right.
not empowering, then this is, oh, I want to teach this to everybody. Okay. So um, remember, my belief is everything is BS and the only truth is love. Um, and quantum physicists and even Einstein, instead of E equals MC squared, he had it love equals MC squared. And he asked not for it to be published 20 years after his death because he felt humans were not ready for this consciousness yet.
Wow, I never heard that.
Yeah, but you could look it up.
That's
Einstein,
great. That's cool.
yeah. So if you believe that we come from love and we are love and the love is truth, anytime you get triggered, you have to see where that belief system is coming from. So say someone cuts you off on the road and you think he's an asshole, and
Mhm,
you ask questions because you can't ever argue with your brain. You are always, always going to be right. So instead of arguing with yourself, just ask, is it true? And 99.9% of the time, it's going to be true because if it wasn't, why would you even think it? So
mhm,
then if you ask, occasionally you might realize, no, it's not true, but
mhm,
and then you ask, how does it make me feel when I believe that he's an asshole? It makes me feel weak. It makes me feel powerless. It makes me feel
mhm.
angry. Then you do the opposite. And I'm strong. I'm powerful. And then you can kind of see, like, well, maybe he's rushing. He has an emergency. Or I've done that sometimes too. Like,
Mhm,
you
mhm.
go to that powerful love, you have this
Right,
victim or the power. But
right.
when you list the power, you'll see the strength that you do have and these other choices that you can make. And it
Mhm,
is so powerful
mhm.
if you take action on it. So it's not, I don't want you to just take this knowledge. I want you to practice it just even once and get back to me next time I'm on the show, or just tell Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I practice it for sure, and I think a lot of our viewers do. But that is, that has kind of become the way I feel as well. It's like I want to share something with you, and you just talk about this kind of this energy and just this awareness of how you're accountable in every situation that you're in your life, you know what I mean? And it's like even people who have cancer, you see people who are like sick but they dress up every day and they've got this outlook that is so much better than most of the other people, you know what I mean? Because they're just like, hey, I can't do anything about this other than enjoy my life and be a loving person and smile, because you know what, smiling feels much better than sulking. you know
Exactly. So, who's an incredible inspiration is Viktor Frankl. He was in the Holocaust for 4 years.
okay.
He's a neuroscientist. And he literally, between an event and our reaction, there's that little space.
Mhm.
He was determined to survive, and he gave meaning every day. And he was able to, if I don't, you probably have heard of it, Man's Search for Meaning. But if you haven't read it, I highly, highly recommend it because it's such an
What is the name of it? Say it again. Man's
Man's
Search.
Search for Meaning. Man's
Okay.
Search for Meaning. Viktor
Okay.
Frankl. Viktor Frankl.
Okay.
So imagine absolutely horrific, horrific experience in the concentration camp. He didn't have, even if it was like the easiest of concentration camp, it would still be absolutely horrendous. But
I can't.
like the things that he describes is just incredible, incredible.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy. So, so I think the thing that was so amazing to me when you told me your story is that if you were to meet you now, which is when I met you, you would never think, oh my God, this woman went through such horrible things. You know what I mean? Although to me, it makes a lot of sense because a lot of the most loving, amazing people I know, came through some trauma to get there to become spiritual. I feel like very fortunate because I mean, my father passed and I've had some kind of, basic trauma in my life, but nothing that I can compare to your story, you know what I mean? Um and I feel like I have made some what's the word, I guess discoveries or realizations, you know what I mean? I've remembered certain things about being that allow me to navigate, in a way that I see a lot of other people struggling with. We look out there and so many people are struggling with depression and struggling with some of the things you were talking about. And it's amazing that once you kind of get to this awareness, you can't go back. It's like you see those people and you're like, oh, I wish you understood, how easy it was. And you really can't make people understand, but you can, be who you are, right?
But one, I'm sorry for your loss. And I feel pain is pain. I don't want people to compare pain like mine was worse or anything like that.
Hmm.
I have compassion for people that have pain, and I want to give them tools to be out of that pain because we can choose to be out of that pain. So we can choose to be a victim
Hmm.
have
Hmm.
these stories, they did this to me or this happened or that happened, or take ownership is like I'm here now, you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
how am I going to create my future? And the
Right.
way I can create my future is to empower myself
Hmm.
by the way I think, the way I feel, that vibrational energy,
Hmm.
my conscious, subconscious, and superconscious, and constantly surrendering the stories because the stories are my stories. They're very limited. The
Hmm. Hmm.
superconscious doesn't have the stories.
Hmm. Hmm.
Look at nature. A flower gets stepped on, and it's like, it doesn't say, oh, I got stepped on.
Right.
It continues as a storm or anything. And I think that's one of the things I love, love, love
Hmm.
about nature is constantly helping me aware of just be and accept things. Like I don't complain when the sun. Does anybody complain when the sun is rising over here and we want it to rise over there? We accept nature as it is, but why don't we accept ourselves as it is? And we are a part of nature. We come from the earth and we are part of the earth. You are absolutely perfect the way you are and accept yourself the way you are.
Totally beautifully said, and that's what I love about these conversations because we have on the show just talked about simple things like living with intention and how powerful that makes you. You know what I mean? And people have come back and said, oh, I did this because of what you said, and this is what happened, and it's like this wonderful story. We've had some good Deb says I went through the tunnel, and then she says, "Oops." I don't know why she says "oops," but Deb, I would love. Deb is a friend of mine who I had no idea had a near death experience. So I would love to talk to you about that and maybe have you on the show. Lorraine says depression is huge and people are hiding it, and That's true, and that's again like I think Asia and myself and you, Lorraine, and people that we know, all you can do is be a loving, kind person and smile back at someone. You know what I mean? You can't tell someone, "Hey, don't be depressed." You know what I mean? Because they've got to figure it out. But by smiling at them, you're transferring your energy. You're saying, "Hey, it's okay," and that's all you can do. I mean, I don't know. You're about to say something, Asia. How do you feel about that?
Well, you know what? Depression, it's so challenging because when you're there, you're in that pit and you don't even want to really get out. You're just it's easy to say to do this or do that. I've been there and I know like what to do,
Hmm.
like even when I knew, but I didn't have enough strength to do that.
Hmm.
So you start off small, like really tiny daily habits. Like you start with like a 1 minute meditation or 1 minute of just going out in the sun.
Hmm.
So my thing about catching a sunrise, I mean, I've been doing it for over 10 decades, is because
Hmm.
I started off for self discipline. I thought I
Hmm.
would do it just for 7 days, no
Hmm.
excuses, no matter what.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
those are the kind of games you have to play with your head because um, there is a science to it now.
Hmm.
There is chemicals and how you can hack your brain. So
Hmm.
smiling, yes. There's like a dozen things that if someone is depressed, that it's not it's not going to get them out of it,
Hmm.
but it may continuously, if you continue to do them, it
Hmm.
can rewire your brain.
Exactly.
You can
Exactly.
become something immediately by
Hmm.
changing its meaning. So
Hmm.
a lot of people hold on to something that happened. Like they,
Hmm.
like if you think back on your life, you
Hmm.
could have 90 great things that happen, but that one thing you hold on to and you don't want to let it go. So
Hmm.
the way you can be empowered by that is think of something you learned from it or how if you always want to use that if because you can't argue with your brain. So
Hmm.
if this can be empowering or what I could have gotten from it or what a blessing this could have been, then like try to list, go through that same story that you have. Now
Hmm.
try to list how it was beneficial to you. Can you see how it might have been? Like
Hmm.
for me, being adopted into this country, I used to run away when I was little all the time trying to get home to my parents and stuff, and I didn't want to be in America.
Hmm.
The people looked different. You know, I got made fun of because I was Asian. The food tasted horrible. I missed everything, and I used to try to run away, and I really didn't want to be here. But now I look at it like, oh my God, I'm so grateful to be here because all the opportunities, and besides that, like I would be a total different person if I
Hmm.
wasn't here.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Hmm.
I just
Interesting. Yeah. True.
yeah, another thing is a birthday. I don't have a birthday. I mean,
Right.
I have one that's made up, but you know, when you have no paper trail,
Right.
you don't have any legal documentation, and that used to make me really sad and long for my family. So now
Right.
I made up my birthday. You know what
Right.
my birthday is? Every
No.
day. That's great.
Every day.
Or I look at the
I love
horoscope. The best one is my birthday.
I love that. I just picked the best one, and that's it. That's awesome.
You can change your story, change it, make it best for you.
Such a simple thing. It really is. It's amazing. Uh, there's a guest. We had a guest on our show. A friend of mine, Sunshine. I don't know if you know her. But she had her story, and one day she made a decision, and she said, you know what, I am Sunshine, and she literally became Sunshine, and is now a healer, and is healing people, and people are calling her, and from across the country, like, come heal me. So there's so much power in choice and in intention and all of that stuff, and that's so
But
beautiful. I love
people
it.
are going to realize it's like it takes about 30 years for it to get to the mainstream most so You know how like we have germs on our hands,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't see it. And it took 30 years before it was mandatory implemented in the hospital. That's
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
All these mothers were dying.
Mm-hmm.
80.
Oh, you were telling me this. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm. And they didn't believe that there were germs on the hands. In fact, the head of the hospital who made the doctors wash their hands because he thought they had him institutionalized because they thought he was crazy. It took
Mm-hmm.
30 years before it would. That's how our thoughts is
Yeah.
energy. So there are three things: your DNA. Remember how I explained, like, gave an analogy? Your
Mm-hmm.
DNA is like the piano,
Mm-hmm.
and what plays the music, like what activates our DNAs to get sick, is
Mm-hmm.
environment, which we know, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what the other one is?
Your thoughts?
Belief.
Yeah.
Belief is why placebos work. 70%. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there was a guy who had lung cancer, stage 4. They gave him a pill, lung cancer. If don't take my word on anything I'm saying. Actually look it up, get the books, get the science. I've been studying quantum physics, neuroscience, metaphysics for almost 3 decades now. So I'm a constant learner. And even what we know today might be different in the future. But as far as I know, what we know today, what
Mm-hmm.
might be beneficial to you if you okay, so it's the environment, belief, and the third is emotions, which emotions, stress can cause illness. So
Mm-hmm.
if you can hack these three,
Mm-hmm.
you can hack your DNA. And that's
Right.
what I've been working on.
Exactly what I was going to say when by going to the sun, like that whole thing where you decided, hey, I want to just do it for discipline, and you want to go see the sunset every morning. I mean, not only are you hacking your DNA by the habit, but by the situation you're putting yourself in, because the sunset is a very energetic moment,
Sun,
right, in time.
sunrise. Yes,
The
sunrise,
sunrise. I'm sorry. Um,
both of them, there's a science behind it. Mother
right.
Nature literally rewards you. So
Mhm.
when the sun is low to the horizon,
Mhm.
she literally gives you this happiness. That's
Mhm.
why people love it and they don't realize it. It literally changes the chemical. So imagine starting your day with the sunrise and an intention. And like my intention is to spread love. Like
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
doesn't matter. I don't have to say like I'm doing this. I just
Right.
give some positive vibes and whoever wants to join in are more than welcome to join in.
Right. Right. And whoever it's obvious to those people, you know what I mean? They receive it. It's not like, what the hell's wrong with that woman? You know what I mean? They're just like, oh wow, look how happy she is. They get it. You know what I mean? The people who are receiving it, and then the other people, they're not receiving it. So it's not
Michael,
your
I'm to
responsibility.
the point where I don't really care what other
Right.
people think. Would you like to know why?
Absolutely.
Because it's their perception. It's
Of
where
course.
they are and their perception. I mean, I had to go through this, like, and sometimes I have to make myself aware of it.
Mhm.
Their perception doesn't have to be my reality.
Right.
My reality is my reality, and I am
Right.
creating my reality. And my
Totally.
reality is love.
Another great philosophy, you know what I mean, that helps you deal with every day, because every day it's like, I don't you're not responsible for other people's thoughts, you know what I mean? And
We can't be. We can't be. I've
yeah, you
never
can't. No.
ever seen anything through anybody else's eyes, and
Right.
I will not be able to. I could have compassion from my experience, but I
Mhm.
will never know. Um, and they will never know through my eyes.
Right. Right. So we have some interesting comments. Steve says, people don't choose to be depressed. It just hits you, and we're
Yeah.
definitely not saying that's not
Yes.
true, and I don't think
Yes.
we're saying it's not you're not allowed to be depressed. You certainly are. And I'm not
Yes.
even saying, I don't know about you, Asia, but I'm not even saying that I'm depression free all the time. I certainly have experiences, and I get up where I don't want to get up out of bed or whatever it might be. I don't think it hits me as hard as other people might let it hit them, because of where I'm at, and how I process it. But I mean,
No, no,
I'm not
no.
depression free. I mean, do you get depressed ever? I mean, in your own way? No,
Um,
she's not. No, life is just amazing. But
no,
it is. You've
I,
chosen that. You've chosen that.
it's not. It's not that I've chose. yes, it's
The
chosen,
outlook.
but also the brain the brain is can can
You
be
programmed it.
okay. Nobody chooses to be depressed, and when you're there, I mean, it's I haven't been there in a while,
Mhm.
but I know, like, it's debilitating, and
Absolutely.
the thing is that we have tools now that if you can, like, I remember when I was in that state, this was, I don't know, several years ago, maybe like 10 years ago. I remember thinking, oh my God, I've never been this depressed before. Like, and I knew what to do, but I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to, like, I was just like, I didn't want to because it just takes over. And the thing is, it's the constant daily habits. It's like,
Mhm.
it's rewiring the brain. It's like, like where the snow falls at the ski slope.
Mhm.
So the reason I was able to get into the depression because so easily is because that pathway is like the ski slope, that path, whatever, was constantly used. And
Mhm.
so it goes zoom so easily there.
Mhm.
Now you have fresh snow on the other side. Like if you try to go, it'll be like this because there's no path, there's no
Right.
pathway. And that's like the pathway to happiness. It's like such a struggle, but
Right.
you have to constantly rewire.
Right.
There's lots of tools. If people want, I'll send a list of how they can start. And um, I'm working on an online course because if you are depressed, give yourself compassion. But when
Right.
you are happy, right when you're happy, so you remember those um, moments, and
Mhm.
when you're in the powerful moment, so that when you start seeing yourself going, catch it before you get there,
Mhm. Mhm.
catch it before you get too deep. And
Mhm.
when you get too deep, ask for help. Reach
Mhm.
out to somebody because sometimes you need a little
Mhm.
hand
Right.
or some additional, um, yeah.
Right. There's no shame in that, and there and
There's no good or bad emotions. There's just
right.
wanted or unwanted.
Mhm.
And sometimes when we haven't been given the tools to help,
Right. Right.
and a lot
There's
of people hold it in until it's like so deep.
right. Absolutely. No, absolutely. There's so it's so great because just in just such a few little concepts that you talked about, I feel like there's so much to talk about, to expand on it, and just the idea. I'm still thinking about it in my head. The idea of setting that intention to go experience a sunset for 7 days, right? Just to prove to yourself that you have the discipline and you can, you're battling against yourself. You're like, am I going to do it? Am I not going to do it? I'm going to prove to myself. This is the whole Eckhart Tolle thing, right? Who is the eye behind the eye? But I'm going to prove to myself that I can do it. And in that whole process, you did experience the sunrise each morning, which also gave you that, like you said, that energy that in that moment of the sun and the earth and the interaction that's happening there, and it gave you the opportunity to sit with that energy and your thoughts, right? And that's what slowly after 7 days. I mean, do you think it took 7 days? Do you think it was less, and you were like, I love this already? Or I mean, because I know it's
No,
your practice now,
I
right?
did not love it 7 days.
You
I did
didn't.
not
You
love it
didn't.
every, I
You were still forcing it.
every day. So besides that, loving it, you know what it's doing? It doesn't have to be a sunrise. You can set an intention for whatever you want to do.
Mhm,
Um, but what it is keeping the word to yourself.
mhm,
So now your conscious and your subconscious is
mhm,
working together. Because how often did you say, "Oh, I'm going to do this tomorrow," and you don't do it? So the next time you want something, you want to manifest something, or you want to do something, and you want something to go, your subconscious is saying, "Oh, I don't believe you, because you've said you so much so often,
right,
never kept your word. Like, why
mhm,
should I believe you now?" So
right,
it's so vital to keep your word to
right.
yourself.
Hey,
Yourself.
your soul subscribes to the four agreements. It's absolutely, absolutely, it's so great. Uh, Wonderful, wonderful conversation with you. I'm loving having this conversation. So let's just take a look at the comments. We got Tim saying the mind can do amazing things. I've seen and experienced many unbelievable things firsthand. And I think we all have. It's amazing when you look back at your life and you're like, oh my God, remember that? But my ex-wife had about 25 plus personalities. That must have been an interesting experience. Tim just had a baby with his current wife. And congratulations, Tim. The pictures are beautiful. The energy is amazing between. So Tim's one of our regular viewers, and his wife is from Brazil, um, and now he's down there, and it's just amazing that we've
It,
experienced it with them. What's that?
it is amazing how powerful we are. Literally, um, you can look this up as in like when your personality changed, like there have been incidents where the personality changes and literally their eye color changes. How
Hmm.
crazy is that?
The
That
physicality, yeah.
you've like definitely look it up and like from having diabetes to not having diabetes.
Right, right,
Like
right, right.
illness is not illness, but
Yeah,
actual physical qualities change.
amazing.
It's so
Yeah,
incredible
yeah.
on how powerful we are is tapping into that power. And the way you tap into that power is tapping into that super consciousness, letting go of your limiting BS. It's
Hmm, hmm,
constant for
hmm.
me, it's constantly letting go
Right,
of what I know. It's
right.
constantly letting go of the stories and totally surrendering to the superconscious. And when I don't get what I want, um, sometimes I'm not grateful at that moment,
Hmm.
but then I get grateful because I'm like, I'm this like little dot of a human on this earth, on this universe, and I know the super
Right,
I'm part of this universe that is always really looking out for me, and it's something better, always better. And I'm like,
right,
I waste my energy,
right, right.
bringing my vibration down when I can just step into gratitude.
Right. Well, I think, and I'm just kind of thinking, I'm processing this right now as we're speaking, but I think it's a matter of um, the state of asking yourself, well, what am I supposed to be, rather than the state of just being and knowing that you are what you're supposed to be. Right. I mean, I think that's.
I think it's total acceptance of yourself,
Mhm,
accepting yourself unconditionally,
mhm,
but also having goals of where you want to be. I love, love, love this analogy that it's look back every once in a while and look back to all the things you've wanted that you have now.
mhm,
So it's like taking time to appreciate who you are and how far you've come. You're not where you want to be yet, but you are exactly where you're supposed to be.
mhm,
For you
mhm.
to be in this state of grace and have the motivation. And when you're making progress, that progress will give you happiness too.
Right. Right. It's interesting. Last night I was doing a live broadcast with a friend of mine, this girl Courtney, who is very interesting. She's watching right now, I believe, and she came up with this idea, um, to do a show because she has some interesting interests. She has a relationship with a doll. Okay, and I never judged her on that, and I never even felt the need to. Did I think it was odd? I was like, well, I don't do that, but I didn't think it was wrong. And there was something about, I was like, oh, well, that's interesting that I have no judgment on this, and that's cool or whatever. And so we became friends, and she had the idea of doing a show called Strange and Wonderful, which is basically having conversations with people who may have different comfort zones, you know what I mean, and different BS, right? They have different BS than us, and so we had our first guest on the show, and it was a trans woman who also is having a relationship with a doll, and um, I got so much insight into what the thought process is behind that, and it was so much different than I thought. She was so intelligent, and spoke so eloquently on it. And again, I know that I love this platform for this reason, for the conversations and the ability to learn and exchange energy and elevate each other. But I felt it happening during this conversation. I felt my brain kind of just growing and expanding, and my love growing and expanding, just having this conversation. And thank you, Courtney, so much for inspiring me to help you with that show, leading me up to that moment, because
It's
it taught me a lot about myself and about the world around me.
yes, it's really compassion about for everyone and no judgment.
Mhm.
Um, I was saying this yesterday that I look for triggers because not that I get like right now, it's very rare that I get triggered, but when I do
Mhm.
get triggered, I'm grateful for it because
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
something deep, deep in my subconscious that I still need to work on.
Right, right,
So I'm
right,
like, ooh, what do I still have in here
right, right,
that you know to
right. I say that to myself, like when I realize I'm talking about someone. I'm like, oh, I don't like talking about people. Why am I saying this about that person? Why am I passing judgment? It gives me the opportunity to question that, which is great. It's interesting. I'm just looking at the clock. I'm realizing we're almost at an hour, and we didn't even start to touch on some of the things that we talked about. So I hope that you'll come back for another conversation, about crypto and NFTs, because that was what started our conversation. You have jumped in, like, took off your clothes and just jumped right into that pool, and you are just swimming around right now in that world.
close off.
Okay, so you're swimming around you're still swimming around. You've jumped in and you're swimming around in the world. You're not skinny dipping. We'll make that clear for our viewers who may have vivid imaginations. Um, but it's wonderful to feel that energy from you, and to almost feel like you've really helped me kind of feel comfortable about even wanting to learn about it and talk about it. So I'm looking forward to that, uh those classes that you're going to be doing, and stuff like that. So
I'm
I
here for you. However, I can support you.
yeah, awesome. And I keep having this thought about something I want to say, and then it keeps like running away, and I'm like, oh wait, you didn't say it yet. You didn't say it yet. I'll have to remember it. um but again, I mean, this is the live stream of consciousness. It is mostly based on spirituality and those kinds of things and belief systems, and we definitely talked a lot about that. So next time we'll talk about some of the upcoming, you said you're speaking in Texas, right? You're
And
speaking at a huge conference, right?
yes, but I'm excited about the one on Long Island at Titan Studios.
Oh, awesome! So let's promote that a little bit. Um, Asia's going to be putting together. I guess it's going to be a class. Are we going to live stream it or just record it? Or
I'm not sure of the details, but
okay.
it's live. 50. The studio can hold 50 people,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
it's for people to be comfortable enough to have crypto and create NFT.
Hmm.
That's basically it.
Hmm.
It's you know what? Things seem really difficult because the whole language and lingo is a whole learning curve, you know, but
Hmm.
you have to ape in. You know what ape in is? Jump in. So like the board ape in.
The
So
Board Ape. Yeah.
that's one of the lingos, aping in. And
Right.
don't feel FOMO, fear of missing out,
Hmm. Hmm.
because it's still really early. Less than 10% are in this NFT crypto space. So
Hmm.
all of you here, now that you're aware of it, when you start coming into this new space, you're still early. You're not, yeah.
Awesome. Very encouraging. Very appreciated. Steve Sage says, "Great show." Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. Steve's a good buddy of mine, and he's watched me kind of grow through some of these things too, and it's great to have his support. Um, I think next week I'm going to have an interesting guest on the show, an author who his story is that throughout his youth he had um, these two imaginary friends and these two kind of entities in his life that later in life in his 40s he actually met as physical people. And gotten relationships with. So it's a really interesting story. I'm not trying to take away your thunder. I'm just trying to promote my
No,
next
no,
week's show.
not at all.
Um,
It,
but
it,
but
it's
but Asia, that you
our
are
thunders, all our thunder.
it's all of our thunder. Oh man, I love you so much. You are such a wonder, and I'm so happy that we met, and I can't wait to see where that takes us both.
Thank
Um, so
you.
I'm gonna put you backstage for just a second so I can say goodbye to my viewers, and just hang on tight because I do want to say goodbye to you. All
Okay.
right. Thanks
Yes.
for coming.
Thank you.
So that was pretty amazing. So excited to be doing what I do here and sharing it with all of you. So thank you all for coming and being here and giving me the love and giving Asia the love and giving Jesse the love. I did get a little message from Jesse. I didn't want to interrupt the conversation, but here's a little message from Jesse that came in a little bit.
P.S. We thought it might be cool to show you that we're wearing our Care Bear pajamas on the airplane. She's gay and I'm lucky. Anyway, it's just a funny thing that we decided to do. See you later.
So that's Jesse on the airplane in his Care Bear outfit. Um, Again, thank you guys for being with me through this whole thing. This has been such an amazing experience. I hope you guys can see how happy I am a lot of the times doing this and being here and growing with you. So thank you. I will see you guys again next week. Peace out.